Before we get started, we want to go over a couple tools that we like to use while doing this install. The first is a 13mm step bit that you can purchase on our website. This will make drilling through the frame and especially the sway bar a lot faster and easier. Next is a nutsert tool. You can purchase these on Amazon for about $75. They will make the install process much easier. Step 1. Lift the vehicle, place securely on jack stands with wheel chocks in place. Then remove the front tires. Remove the stock front skid plate as well as the skid plate support brackets. Step 2. Unbolt both sway bar end links from the knuckle on both sides. Once you have those unbolted, you can go ahead and remove the four 14mm bolts from the sway bar. As a side note, if you have sway bar spacers installed, you want to remove them before moving forward. You will no longer need them. Now that your sway bar is off the vehicle, you can go ahead and remove the sway bar end links from the sway bar. Step 3. Break off the small tab from the provided drill guide, then bolt it on your sway bar using your old end link. When tightening down the drill guide, be sure that the hole is centered in the sway bar. Next, you're going to drill the new hole for the kwikLYNX. We have found that using an impact drill with a step bit is extremely effective at drilling through the stock sway bar because it helps keep the bit and the bar cool. It is very important that you don't overheat the sway bar or else it will harden the metal, and that makes it extremely hard to drill through. Be sure to keep your bits lubricated as you drill your holes. Next, drill a pilot hole using a 1/4" drill bit. Then remove the drill guide and finish drilling the holes using a 13mm step bit. Repeat this step on both sides. Step 4. Remove the rubber bushings from both sides of the sway bar. Next, you need to remove the retaining ring from the driver's side of the sway bar. Using a cutoff wheel, you're going to cut part of the way through the retaining ring and then use a hammer and a screwdriver or a chisel to pry the retaining ring from the sway bar. It is very important that you do not cut into the sway bar with the cutoff wheel. Step 5. Remove the dowel pin from the lever and remove the clamp bolts from the arm. On the sway bar, you will see a witness mark where the retaining ring used to be. This is where you're going to install the lever arm. Loosely install the arm as you will need to make adjustments once it's installed in the vehicle. Next, remove the over center clamp. Then install the links on both sides of the sway bar. From here, set the sway bar aside and move to the vehicle. Step 6. Install the drill guide with the arrow pointing towards the front of the vehicle with the 2 factory sway bar bolts in the factory holes. Using the drill guide, drill 2 1/4" pilot holes. Then remove the drill guide. Repeat this step on both sides. Use a 13mm drill bit to finish drilling out the holes. Step 7. Using the nutsert tool, install the 4 nutserts on both sides of the frame for the sway bar. Step 8. Remove the ABS sensor brackets from both sides of the vehicle. In order to do this, you'll need to remove the ABS line from all the brackets. Using a flathead screwdriver, pry the tabs open and remove the line from the bracket. Clip the plastic retaining clips and remove them from the ABS line. Remove the 10mm bolt holding the bottom bracket. Remove the 12mm bolt holding the upper bracket. Please note, your hardware sizes can vary a little bit depending on your year and model. Step 9. Reroute the ABS line and install the new ABS line brackets. Do this by unbolting the wheel speed sensor from the hub. Then reroute the ABS line over the top of the knuckle and back down into place. Leave the line loosely clipped into place so that you can adjust the tension on the ABS line in the new brackets. Next, install the new supplied brackets for the ABS lines. You will reuse the factory hardware for both of these locations. As mentioned before, use the factory hardware to install the new ABS line bracket on the lower mount. Now you're ready to install your zip ties on the ABS line and clip them into the new brackets. It is important that you install the zip ties loosely around the ABS line because you will need to make adjustments after it's installed in the bracket. Leave all the extra slack up top. Now that your lower bracket is installed, you can go ahead and tighten your zip ties. Be sure to leave just enough slack at the very end so that it's not tight on the wheel speed sensor. Then ensure your wheel speed sensor is securely bolted in place. Step 10. Install the upper ABS line bracket. Again, be sure to leave the zip ties loose on the line until you have them all installed in the bracket. Then you can tighten after you have everything adjusted. You might find that you have a hard time clipping the zip ties into the bracket. If that is the case, simply loosen the bracket and adjust as needed so the zip ties will clip in place. Now that your brackets are tight, you can go ahead and tighten your zip ties. Make sure that you pull the slack from the bottom clear up to the top, as this is where you're going to want all of your slack in the ABS line. After you've trimmed all your zip ties, go ahead and check your clearance on your ABS line to make sure that it's not interfering with your knuckle or your coilover or anything else when turned lock to lock. Check to make sure that your new bracket does not come in contact with your coil spring. Step 11. Install the air cylinder bracket. It can be welded on or it can be bolted in place with the supplied nut certs. First, clamp the bracket to the frame, indexing off the existing oval-shaped hole that's on the frame with the oval-shaped hole that's on the bracket. Mark the bottom hole first with a center punch, then remove the bracket from the frame. Then drill your first hole using the 13mm step bit. Install the first nut cert. Next, reinstall the bracket using that first nut cert with the supplied bolt. Tighten the bolt and then straighten the bracket to where it's nice and parallel with the frame. Mark the other two holes with a center punch. Remove the bracket. Drill 2 1/4-inch pilot holes with the step drill bit. Then finish them off with a 13mm regular drill bit for this section. Now you can install your last 2 nut certs. Next, bolt the bracket back in place with the supplied bolts to the nut certs. Step 12. Remove the ball joint nut from the upper ball joint. Once the nut is removed, you will need to measure the exposed thread length of the ball joint. Max length is 0.9 inches. If it is longer than 0.9, you will need to trim. Dry fit the sway bar by bolting it to the newly installed nut certs. It is very important that you use the new supplied bolts to the nut certs, otherwise you'll damage them if using the factory bolts. Next, install the air cylinder to the lever arm using the supplied hardware. It is important that you install the air cylinder using the 2 spacer washers on each end of the air cylinder that are supplied in the kit. It is not necessary to tighten this overly tight, as this is just a dry fit. Next, install the end links using the supplied Nordlock washers. Before you install the washers, be sure to clean the link mounting surface so it is free from grease or rust, so the Nordlock washers have a clean seating surface. Then twist the end link onto the bottom of the ball joint hand tight. Now you're ready to position the lever on the sway bar. To do this, you need to let all the air out of the air cylinder. First, fully extend the air cylinder, then release the air from the Schrader. Next, extend the air cylinder until you're able to read 2 inches on a set of calipers. Then tighten the clamp on the lever to the sway bar. Step 13. Remove the sway bar. Unbolt the sway bar mounts and the air cylinder. Unbolt the links from the ball joints, then remove the sway bar from the vehicle. Next, you're going to mark the sway bar with masking tape on the outside edge of the lever. Mark the center of the sway bar according to the indicator mark on the lever. From there, remove the lever from the sway bar. Install another wrap of masking tape and scribe a straight line continuing the line that you marked in the center of the bar. Then, measuring from the initial row of tape that you installed against the edge of the lever, measure over 0.3 inches and mark an intersecting line. Mark this intersection with a center punch, then drill a shallow pilot hole using a 1/16 inch drill bit. Now mark your 3/16 inch drill bit at 1/4 inch and drill your hole. Step 14. Reinstall the dowel in the lever and then reinstall the lever on the sway bar with the markings facing out. Flip the sway bar over, then install the clamp. Torque bolts to 22 foot-pounds. Apply moly grease to the sway bar bushings, then reinstall both sway bar bushings on the sway bar. Finally, reinstall the sway bar back on the vehicle. Install the Nordlock washers and twist the end link onto the upper ball joint. Then torque to 70 foot-pounds with the supplied crow's foot attachment. Reinstall the air cylinder to the lever and tighten all hardware. Step 15. With the suspension at full droop, using a bike shock pump, charge your air cylinder to 150 psi. It is important that you use a bike shock pump because they have a zero loss air chuck. This is the only way you'll get a proper charge with an accurate reading. Almost done. Simply install the over center lever, lock it in place with the clip, and you're all set.